What's up guys, welcome to another Integer TV review. This time around we're checking out Final Fantasy I. How's it rate? I should say Final Fantasy I Origins on the PlayStation 3. Just completed it today and that's when we do the reviews. You can also check out more reviews at the integer.tv under game reviews. So, we played the Final Fantasy I Origins on the PlayStation 3. I'm estimating it took around 50 hours. We finished at level 40, our character's maximum amount of dollar or gil, and about 92 to 94% total in all of the collections categories, to give you an idea of how much things we completed and seen in the game. The playthrough is also available on the same place you're watching this, likely. So as ever, we do the good, the bad and the ugly, as well as the score. And we'll start with the good. So in Final Fantasy you are essentially poised, ready and set with a task to save the world, essentially, by collecting crystals that represent 4 elements of the world. It's you know, it's basically a story that's enough for you to get things going, have motivation in that way. Nothing special, nothing out there, but solid enough, you know, solid Dungeons and Dragons-esque, Tolkien-esque storyline, so it's all good. So starting with the actual good, though, that was the overview more than the good. So this is a nice classic JRPG. It's got some nice art and sprites, animations. Some of it made me giggle and smile here and there. And that is all solid and nice as you'd expect. This is a remake of the original that was on the NES, I believe, in like the 80s or something like that, 88 maybe. I think this version was released in 2002 possibly, or something like that. I should do this research before I mention that, but you can check that stuff, it's not a big deal. But this is a remake of that, so there's some nice sprites and looks and stuff, and animations and stuff like that. It's quite good. Another good thing in this game is the memory save feature, which is basically a quick save. Pretty much probably wouldn't be able to complete this game without that quick save for me. I used that thing to scuzz and cheat my way through. Even though it's not really cheating, otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be in there. But, you know, it was beautiful, it made a difference, and I probably wouldn't have been able to finish without it, maybe. Because you need some serious patience with that feature. I don't know how people finished it on the NES. You must have grind for like 50 hours per grind. Crazy. So yeah, there's some nice touches like that with FMV and such. And it's meant to be a little bit more forgiving as well, which it helps. Definitely towards the end. Another good thing I found was the unlocks and upgrades are pretty cool. They feel rewarding, and it's nice when it updates the world to reflect your actions and the people's reactions to your actions themselves. That's a pretty cool thing, especially for a game of this age. I also found that the game flows nicely when all things are working together, and you know your goals, and the RNG is behaving itself and not cheesing you. When it's all flowing, and you get to kind of use your newfound skills and newfound abilities, and benefit from that, it's pretty freaking awesome. But obviously that's when the RNG plays with you, and that leads nicely into the bad things. So one of the bad things is that some of the information on mechanics probably should have been explained or explored a little bit further in, especially from a potential strategy point of view. But just knowing some of the more deeper mechanics would be nice, and would definitely potentially help in terms of your choices of certain strategies that are available to you, and there's not lots, but you know, it would be nice. Another issue with the game is the mobs and the spawning rate can be a little bit irritating at times, especially towards the end. You'll start to get serious amounts of mobs often, and it just takes a while to defeat them, so it stops you or prevents you from progressing, tracking and navigating your way through dungeons themselves, you know, and that can be irritating because it breaks the flow. It's no longer a test of your skill or your ability, more of a test of your patience, as you keep getting spawned into mobs that won't let you run away, won't let you flee even with a thief, and it just, you know, it's not good. It's not good when that happens. I've also put in the bad category is that, you know, there is grinding. It can be considered a good or a bad. I think it's kind of standard expectation if you're going to play a JRPG, especially a classic one. You should be expecting to be doing some grinding unless you go and use some secret ninja guide and pick the best class and the rest of it. if you're playing blind and playing as natural as possible, you're going to end up having to grind, or at least grinding to be secure and to feel confident you can get through everything that the game throws at you, since you're going to be playing and not knowing what's going to be happening, especially towards the end. So yeah. And there's also only like 1 or 2 optional things, and I'll say those optional things pretty much seem to be a necessity to me. I think if you don't do those optional things, the game might be possibly impossible to complete, possibly. Because I think things are fixed at a certain level. They don't adjust the level based on your level. So you'd have to do some unholy amount of grinding, or absolutely make sure you do these 1 to 2 optional things that help boost you up. A necessity, really. So maybe not optional in that way. Another thing I've got down here is the fact that I find that too many spells fail. And they fell to a level where they're just practically useless. No need to have them practically. Ridiculous. And some of these spells cost a shitload of money. Paying a shitload of money for spells that are going to keep missing. And I'm not just talking on bosses, I'm talking even just on minions. And because you can't influence any of the stats that make that hit or not, it just makes them... Yeah, it makes them a waste. It's a shame. But not uncommon in older school RPGs. Some of the skills I'm talking about, like say, not so much an insta-kill thing, where you have skills like maybe paralyzing an enemy. You'd think that would be able to at least have a little bit more higher percentage than say, annihilating an enemy in 1 hit. But nope, it's practically... You practically got to be a good couple of levels above the enemies, and then cross your fingers, cross your feet, and pray at the same time, and it's still not going to hit, type of thing almost. So practically useless. They rendered it useless to the level of the fail rate. So coupling that with the fact that you can't affect the initiative system in the game, initiative being who attacks first, as it is a turn-based combat system. If you have a character that is there to support your team, protect your team from damage or what have you, obviously you want them to do that before you take damage. So when you are facing enemies, and sometimes your caster gets to do the protection before any damage has occurred, and then you get the same exact enemies attacking you first and doing all their big attacks, massively damaging your teammates, only for your damn caster to have cast a spell after the fact where you've lost all of your health. That's, to me, a serious flaw. And there's nothing you can do about it to influence it, as far as I know. You can't, there's no skill point system, everything's automatic. So you can't be strategic and make sure that your caster that does protection stuff is able to protect the team before the attacks happen, because you can't affect initiative anyway. So that's just another kind of example of the issue here at hand. 1 sec. I'll stick that in just in case. Okay, so that's all the bad stuff. Now we're going to go to the ugly. And I only got one ugly thing really here, and it's the game generally just relies too much on RNG, aka random number generation, or vice versa. It relies on that more than it does strategy in a way. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just a mark of the time, design-wise, but it's... I feel like there's so many things, like I already kind of mentioned with the initiative system, whatever. There's so many things that they could have done to make it more strategy-based versus RNG, and still be challenging. And I don't believe any of those things are necessarily to do with the age of the game. And I think it wouldn't take. It's not a thing that requires modern technology. It just would require a different design ethos. It relies way too much on the RNG rather than letting you pick certain things that would change the flow in certain dungeons and biomes and certain enemy types in there. It gets to a point where certain enemies you just literally are going to have to take the hits, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I was pretty much maxed level or above level in every area that I went into with this game, so I'm pretty sure that was the case. And that's definitely one of the worst aspects in it, and towards the end especially, it just became tedious with the combination of like having enemies that were clearly programmed to not allow you to flee whatsoever, irrespective of the class of characters that you had that are meant to specialize in that feat. You couldn't run from the enemy, and you were going to get smashed every time, and it was guaranteed to do a good chunk of your health each time for every one of your guys. And couple that with the fact that your protector can't even cast his or her spell before the enemy's attack because you can't affect initiative, so you're going to get smashed every time that RNG happens to you in some scenarios, and you will not be able to flee, and you will take damage every time at least once, at least one turn. Crazy, absolutely crazy and infuriating. And combine it with the fact you're trying to probably navigate through what is essentially a maze in some of the dungeons, trying to keep your bearings, trying to get through, just find the next thing, the next pathway, the right staircase, and you're getting smashed each time. You can't do anything. You can't protect yourself from it strategically, even if you've got the spell for it, because it won't cast quick enough. And you can't run away because they decided they want to grief you with that particular enemy that's going to keep spawning what have you. There's instances of that. It's mostly towards the end, but it does happen, and when all those things come together, you're going to feel the burn. That's why you absolutely need to use the quick save system in the game. Otherwise it's going to require levels of patience that even me as a patience man does not have. So with all of that out of the way, it's now time finally for the score. So this one was kind of a tricky one. When it started out, before the last session, I was thinking of a more higher score, and then after the last session I was thinking of a more lower score. And I feel like it's bloody car driving by and trying to do these reviews, trying to be professional here. I was feeling like it's kind of in the middle between these two scores I was thinking of. So my score for the Final Fantasy Origins, Final Fantasy I Origins, on the PS3, or of course via hardware, is a 7.5 out of 10. Because it was between a 7 and an 8, and that's a pretty good score overall. So again, on our scale, 5 is average. Anything 5 and above is something that, you might want to consider and might like even more than I did. If you fit that pattern, obviously, or that type of target market. Anything below 5 usually has some issues that are serious. This could have been very different if it didn't have the quick save system for me. I probably wouldn't have been able to finish it, maybe, I don't know. I don't think I would have been able to finish it. But otherwise, when things are flowing and everything, and the fact that I was able to pretty much do everything without too much guidance to the level where I felt like I wasn't playing the game and I was just using too much online or anything like that, is a testament to it, really, because that was certainly not the case with Zelda. With Legend of Zelda, I had to pretty much use guides for at least 3-4 instances of just progression, because they were hiding things on the secrets mechanics, which drove me mad. This game never reached those levels of anger for me, or tedium, so therefore it sits nicely in between that. But it could just as easily have been, without the last section, or with a little bit more strategy employed, it could have easily been a 9 or maybe even 10 out of 10. But just combining all those different things, and the flow of it and everything else, I think that's a fair score. So overall, a great classic remake for JRPG lovers. As long as you like JRPGs and know what that is, then you'll enjoy it. If you don't know what JRPGs are, that auto-save system might save you. But yeah, definitely worth checking out if you like that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, at this point in time, with it being 9th of October 2019, I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of the Final Fantasy series. And let me get this car go by a second. There we go. And I'm looking forward to doing some of these other classic JRPGs such as the Persona and what have you. But yeah, Final Fantasy II will be next. Be interested to see what the differences are, if there's any at all. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review and you agree or even disagree, maybe you can leave a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget your alerts, notifications, that's pretty important. Follow on 2 more platforms that no platform has the monopoly on the content that they essentially kind of own, even though they will say that we own it, we don't really own it, right? They can do what they want, delete it anytime. So make sure you follow on 2 more platforms for anything that you enjoy anyone's content whom you enjoy, follow on 2 or more platforms so that they can have an outlet if they get screwed by any of these corporate companies, as I've already experienced. What else? Check out the Integer.tv for more reviews, including ones that haven't got videos, older ones, newer ones, ones that, you know, Wolfenstein 3D. I can't release the video on YouTube because it triggers their machine for some kind of Nazism or something dumb like that. Because obviously there's lots of black Nazis. So you can check out that review via Dailymotion, aka via the Integer TV. It's there. Finally managed to upload something on that Dailymotion. I won't upload nothing. And I think that covers about everything. I don't want to keep going through all this stuff all the time, but it's kind of necessary. So yeah, thank you so much. And let's bring on the next Final Fantasy and other classics. Let's get it going. Another game completed in 2019, and another game completed consistently for each month. That's the first one for October.